In 2024, I went to Windsor Castle with my family and Ayub, our manager from here, where I was presented with an MBE that had been granted to me by King Charles III for services to equines in Morocco. It was presented by Princess Anne, and whilst it is not right that you disclose a conversation you have on that particular occasion, I think it's fair to say that she did comment about Morocco had wonderful horses, and she is right. Morocco should be very proud of some of the amazing horses they have. Many of them will be in the royal stables and some very good breeders in Morocco. But unfortunately, because of the work we do, we see another side. And it is absolutely necessary that I talk to you about this for the sake of Morocco and for the sake of its horses. I have to applaud the government for its very serious efforts in trying to amend the law to reduce cruelty to all animals in Morocco. And you will know that when this is done almost from scratch, it's a very long, complicated procedure. But I do believe it is done with the best of intentions. But I think it's also right to recognise that in a country like Morocco, which is very large, it's larger than England, and it is built out of a very tribal race, that when decisions are taken in government, it goes down to local level through various tiers. And very often, by the time it gets to the local tier, there isn't the same understanding as was intended by government. And there is often a mismatch between what happens on the ground and what the government intended. So I'm saying this because I care about Morocco. I care about the equines, and I hope everybody recognises that. But I hope also that the Ministry of the Interior is watching this, and as many governors as possible are watching it as well. I have been alerted for a while now, particularly in Tangier, and it happens in Agadir, which I've spoken about before, where as a result of the laws being implemented, the local authority will take into custody horses for whatever reason. Maybe they've been used illegally, maybe there are problems with their owners, maybe their owners are going to prison. There could be a whole variety of reasons. But very, very recently, I saw a video of the most beautiful horses being taken in a truck into a holding centre in Tangier. Now, I'm a long way away from Tangier. I work quite closely with Sally at SFT in Tangier, who of course cares a great deal about dogs and cats and has implemented many new advanced schemes to prevent the killing of dogs and cats. And she does have some donkeys, but she doesn't have the facilities for horses. Also, it's very, very important that if you're going to look after a number of horses, some of which will be castrated, maybe very few actually, I think we perhaps do more castrations than anyone. There will be mares and there will be uncastrated males. You need fine horsemen. And the one thing I can say about Georgia, and I can say it with my hand on heart, in our team, we have the most wonderful men who could handle the strongest of horses without bits, without sticks. They are amazing. So when there is a catastrophe such as this, we would love to take every horse that we could. It's obviously not feasible because we're limited by size, by the number of stables we have. And whilst I'm very, very content that we comply absolutely with all the laws concerning charities in Morocco, and I think that's recognised. A weakness we do have is that we very quickly will build brick stables. The reason why we build them is because of the intense heat and the cold in the winter. If you build in bamboo, for which you don't need for planning permission, it rots, it's not suitable for protecting equines. So on the land we have, we just get on with building accommodation for horses. Say it's temporary accommodation, but we couldn't possibly wait for planning permission to build another stable, or we'd never save the horses. So the people in Tangier have been in touch with me, and I'm glad they have. Local people very concerned, because what they say to me, and I believe them absolutely, that these horses are taken into a holding facility. They're not fed, they're not cared for. They're getting very skinny, many of them die. This is heartbreaking, and we have to find a solution. I'm saying to the government, we have got room. We could take more here if we will be treated quite fairly over the building of stables. If it is recognised that we have to take on more staff, our food bills would double, and at the moment we don't have any financial help from the government. But a solution has to be found, and where else are they going to go? On the other hand, you know that we're fighting a campaign at the moment about the equines that are used for tourism in Morocco, and we're hoping to take some more Shetland ponies down here. I think that we may have found a solution if the owners would agree to exchange their Shetland ponies for little electric cars that they could use in the squares for tourists and for children, and would bring them more revenue, because more and more tourists are becoming very disillusioned with what they see in Morocco at local level, and that is a tragedy. There's no answer to keep saying, I'll never go to Morocco again. The cruelty is terrible. The people are so cruel. That's not true. There are wonderful, caring people in Morocco. We don't necessarily have the infrastructure and the laws, and we have extreme poverty. And when all those things are put together, the people who do care about their equines, if they get sick, they can't afford a vet. Those that come down to the cities, yes, they are used to pull carts in a pretty awful way sometimes, and they will belong to very often the poorest of the poor. I don't mean to be insulting to those people, but it's beginning to get your head round and understand the culture and understand what poverty can really mean in a country like this. Marrakesh is thriving, and the reason it's thriving is we don't have a huge welfare bill. As everybody knows, we do in the UK. The welfare bill almost outstrips everything else. But of course, the downside is there is a lot more poverty. Of course, amongst Islam, there are many, many people who assist and help. It's very much part of their religion. So I see very much that I'm in a position to advocate for these animals, help wherever we can, if we can have the permission, if we can have just a little help from the government to get them here and maybe allow me to take on more staff and bring in more food. That would be a good solution in the short term. It would be good for Morocco, it would be good for the government, but we can't allow to keep going in the way that we are now, where beautiful horses are being confiscated and left in the hands of local authorities to starve and die. think I've probably said enough today. Please pass this on if you can. I'm going to send this video out to some key Moroccans in the hope that they will share it as well. I will say on Instagram that if people come into my channel, and it's easy to remember the Donkey Barrister, they can look at the videos there. This is just sharing my thoughts, trying to explain a little bit about what is happening and to say it's a crisis for which we have to find a fairly urgent solution. As always, thank you for listening.